The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 47 star systems before they discovered Earth. Their crimson warships had reduced entire civilizations to ash, their plasma cannons had melted continents, and their soldiers had marched through the ruins of once proud species with mechanical precision. Victory after victory had fed their arrogance until they believed themselves invincible. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of the flagship Sovereign's Wrath, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he gazed upon the blue-green marble suspended in the void. Intelligence reports suggested this world, Earth, harbored a primitive species that had barely achieved interstellar travel. Their technology was crude, their military fragmented, their civilization still bound to a single planet. Another easy conquest, his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Orbital bombardment will pacify them within cycles. Their strongest weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Kethvar nodded, already composing his report to the High Command. The humans would join the long list of species who had underestimated Zephyrian might. Their cities would burn, their leaders would kneel, and their world would become another resource extraction site for the Empire. The first wave of Zephyrian dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. They landed in major population centers across the globe. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Delhi. The plan was simple: demonstrate overwhelming force, destroy military infrastructure, and break human morale within hours. The humans responded exactly as predicted. Their primitive aircraft launched desperate attacks against the dropships. Their ground forces fired projectile weapons that sparked harmlessly against Zephyrian armor. Their leaders issued panicked broadcasts calling for surrender negotiations. Everything proceeded according to plan for exactly 6 hours and 37 minutes. Then Staff Sergeant Maria Vasquez, a 34-year-old combat engineer from Arizona, made a discovery that would echo across the galaxy for generations. While examining a disabled Zephyrian scout vehicle, she noticed something peculiar about its energy signature. The alien technology wasn't just advanced, it was predictable. Their shields operated on a harmonious frequency that could be disrupted with the right electromagnetic pulse. Vasquez shared her findings with her unit. Her unit shared them with their command. Within hours, human engineers across the globe were jury-rigging EMP devices from everything they could find: car batteries, radio transmitters, even modified microwave ovens. The improvised weapons shouldn't have worked. The Zephyrians had faced EMP attacks before from more advanced civilizations and adapted their technology accordingly. But humans, it seemed, had a gift for creative chaos that defied all tactical doctrine. The first Zephyrian patrol to fall victim to a modified car battery weapon sent a confused report back to base. The second patrol never reported at all. By the end of the first day, human resistance fighters were using shopping mall sound systems to broadcast feedback loops that disrupted Zephyrian communications. Admiral Kethvar received the reports with growing unease. "Impossible," he muttered, reviewing combat footage of humans wielding crude weapons against his technologically superior forces. "How are they adapting so quickly?" His tactical officer offered no answers. The Zephyrians had studied warfare for millennia, perfected their strategies through countless campaigns. Yet these humans seemed to rewrite the rules of engagement with every encounter. They turned civilian infrastructure into weapons, used their own weaknesses as strengths, and displayed a stubborn refusal to accept defeat that bordered on insanity. On the second day, Dr. Elena Petrov, a physicist from Moscow, successfully reverse-engineered a Zephyrian plasma rifle, using nothing but parts scavenged from a destroyed tank and her grandmother's pressure cooker. When human forces began returning fire with their own energy weapons, Kethvar knew the situation had shifted beyond mere rebellion. The breaking point came on the third day. Captain Torres, a helicopter pilot from Mexico City, loaded his aircraft with every piece of magnetic metal he could find and flew directly into a Zephyrian cruiser's engine intake. The explosion shouldn't have damaged such a massive vessel, but Torres had calculated the precise angle to trigger a cascade failure in the ship's power grid. As the cruiser plummeted from the sky, something unprecedented happened across Earth's surface. Instead of celebrating their victory, humans immediately began rescuing Zephyrian survivors from the wreckage. They offered medical aid to wounded enemies, shared food with stranded soldiers, and began attempting to communicate despite the language barrier. Admiral Kethvar watched the footage in stunned silence. In 47 previous campaigns, he had never witnessed such behavior. Conquered species either fought to the death or submitted completely. They didn't rescue their conquerors. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans. It's a surrender offer." "Finally," Kethvar breathed, then paused. "What are their terms?" "They want us to surrender, sir." "To them?" The Admiral's blood chilled as he processed the impossible statement. A species that had achieved spaceflight barely a century ago was demanding the surrender of an empire that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. The human spokesperson was an elderly woman named Sarah Chen, who had been Earth's United Nations Secretary General for less than a week. She spoke with quiet authority that somehow carried more weight than the threats of warlords who had terrorized entire sectors. "We know you've destroyed many worlds," she said, her weathered face filling the main screen. "We know you've ended countless lives. But we also know that this cycle of violence doesn't have to continue. We're offering you a choice your previous victims never had, the chance to do better." Kethvar found himself leaning forward, captivated despite himself. What do you propose?" "Help us rebuild what you've destroyed. Use your technology to heal instead of harm. Join us in creating something better than either of our species could achieve alone." It was insane. It violated every principle of conquest and submission that the Empire had followed for centuries. It offered mercy to beings who had shown none. It was also, Kethvar realized with growing certainty, the most strategically brilliant maneuver he had ever witnessed. The humans hadn't just defeated the Zephyrian military. They had defeated the very concept of conquest itself. By refusing to become conquerors in victory, they had transformed their enemies into potential allies. By offering hope instead of revenge, they had created a future that neither species could claim alone. Admiral Kethvar looked around his bridge at officers who had served the Empire faithfully for decades. He saw doubt in their eyes now, questions they had never dared ask. For the first time in his career, he wondered if there might be a better way than endless war. "Recall all forces," he ordered quietly. "Send word to the High Command. The conquest of Earth is postponed indefinitely." His tactical officer stared at him. "Sir?" Kethvar studied the image of Earth on his main screen. This small blue world that had somehow changed everything. "We have much to learn from these humans, and perhaps for the first time in our Empire's history, much to regret." The surrender documents were signed 3 days later, not in a throne room or command center, but in a refugee camp where humans and Zephyrians worked side by side to tend the wounded from both species. The galaxy would never be the same.